Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn how to make more money in less time and have more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman, and I am the founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build great teams. I have as my guest today, Bray from Blue Tangerine. That's a great name.
Oh,
So,
thanks.
Greg, tell me a little bit about your backstory and what Blue Tangerine does and how you came up with that name.
Well, thanks, Paul, for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, we get a lot of comments on the name. It's great once people know who we are, but sometimes it doesn't immediately tell you what we do. So that's the downside to it. But we are a digital marketing and website development agency that helps builders and contractors create sales generating websites. So we help with all of the website design, development, hosting, and then we help with driving traffic, things like search engine optimization, running ads on Google or Facebook, things of that nature that are going to help you get in front of the right people. Been doing this now, gosh, since the year 2000. So 24 over 24 years.
That's a
In
long
various
time.
forms.
Digital has come a long way in 24 years,
Digital
right?
has changed a lot since I got started in this. That is for sure. Changed a lot. There are things that exist now that have not existed that whole time. That is for sure. But the name was just one of those things, like when you're trying to serve people in a large geography, like the whole world, or not that we serve all over the world, but across the country, you have to find a name that's not taken yet, especially when
Right,
you're looking for the right domain name, the
right.
right .com.
You need
And
a dot
so
com, right?
yeah, and so ultimately it just came down to our brainstorming session. We were getting frustrated, weren't finding anything, and one of our team just said, "Hey, we need to pick two words that don't go together, like blue and tangerine." We're like, "Huh, okay." We played around with it a little bit, tried some different versions and just kept coming back to it. So it's worked well for us, and we really like it.
Well, it's certainly memorable, which is a good thing, right?
Definitely seems to be memorable for sure.
That's
We
cool.
like that.
So, what comes up for a lot of our clients and people I work with, people listening to this is, how much you spend, how do you break it down between building brand and pay-per-click and that kind of thing. So the two questions I want to start with is, if you're a small company, let's say a remodeling company or a small builder, and you're doing, a couple, 3 million, 2, 3 million, how much money should you spend on marketing as a percentage of gross sales? And then how should you allocate it between building brand, which is, things like websites and trucks and all that building brand stuff, versus pay per click, where you're actually paying per lead? Do you have any suggestions on those two things?
I've heard different numbers for sure across industries, and I think it's going to vary a lot. I hate to say it depends, but it depends. I'm not sure there's a one size fits all rule for some of that. Ultimately, I think the most important number, as you try to feel comfortable with that, is what does a lead cost me, and what is the value of that lead specifically? So if I know that I need to sell 10 projects a year or 50 projects a year to be able to hit our goals, depending on the size of our team, all right, to sell that 10 projects a year, how many leads do I need to talk to? How many times do I need to have a conversation based on my historicals of, is that I close every one? Probably not, right?
No.
But do I need to talk to 10 to get one job? Do I need to talk to 100 to get one job? And if a job is worth X dollars for me and I need to talk to 100 people to get that job, then you can start to kind of back into what's that lead worth, right? And so then as you think about that kind of structure of what is that lead worth, now you can start to look at, well, gosh, if I need to get that many leads from Google and they're worth, $100 a lead, $50 a lead, $1,000 a lead, whatever it might be, how much do I need? Is it worth spending? Because if I can get leads for cheaper than that some other way, then I should do that other way, whatever that is.
Right.
Now, one of the beauties of digital is that you have a lot more tracking options and connections to be able to see some of that. It's a little harder to see how much did I get because people saw, the signage on my truck. I think logos on trucks are important, right? Because they do have
Right.
value and people see those, as they drive by
Right.
a job site, and the little signs in somebody's yard and all that. That's absolutely important. But they're a little harder to track. than saying that, gosh, I ran this campaign on Google and I got exactly this many visits to my website and this many people filled out the form, and then I was able to see how many I talked to. I was kind of a roundabout answer.
Well,
to your
let me
question,
tell you
Paul,
the
but-
three typical ones that get a little confusing. Okay. I'm a small custom home builder. I build 10, 12 houses a year. I'm looking for people that want me to build them a new house. My average house is, pick a number, 8 million, make numbers easy, 1 million. I make 10%, 100,000 net on the house. Okay. Versus a remodeler who does maybe 15 or 20 projects a year. The average project is 200,000 or 300,000. He makes a little better margin. He needs more versus a roofing company that might do 100 projects a year, right? The average price is 40,000. Their margin's like 30%. It gets confusing, you know, because they're all different, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's take all three examples. You're the expert. I want to build, you know, 10, 12 custom houses a year. I'm looking for, you know, I only need 10 clients a year. They're going to sign up, right? What would that marketing budget look like versus the other two? The guy who's doing remodels at 120,000, or somebody's doing all roofs at 40,000.
Oh man, Paul, you're gonna make me do math in my head. It's, I think it's gonna get into some of these ideas of typically, you know, you see kind of that 4 to 5% of gross revenue as kind of a marketing budget number is one that I've heard pretty consistently. And then I've heard a lot of folks say that probably half of that needs to be digitally focused in some way based on where today's consumers are. Now, again, a lot of folks, especially the smaller you are, word of mouth is kind of the primary, you know, marketing avenue that we seem to think, oh, we just get all our business from referrals. We get all our
I
business.
remember
from
the
word of
old
mouth.
days said, oh, I don't need marketing. I just answer the phone and do a good job.
Yeah. And that's absolutely important, right? To do a good job generates more work. Absolutely. But I think as we ponder what word of mouth looks like today, you know, you think about the kind of idea of someone says, oh, I want a new roof. I asked my friends and neighbors who they use for their new roof, or I want to do a remodel or whatnot. As soon as they give you that recommendation, do you pick up the phone?
No.
Or do you go to their website? You look them up on Google, you go to their website, right? And so word of mouth travels through your website today in a way that it did not used to, 10, 15 years ago. And I think that's a view that some of these companies miss, is this idea that word of mouth still travels through the website, even if it looks like a web lead. Or they look at the website and they're like, I don't know. This thing looks really old, out of date.
I think for better or worse, people make a decision about your company about 15 seconds and look at your website.
It is amazing the psychological impact that is really not really rational, right? The ability for you to do quality work in a lot of ways has nothing to do with whether you know how to make a website look nice.
Right.
But yet we judge people that way, don't we? Really quickly and almost
I use the
subconsciously.
example, Greg, if you get in an airplane and the seats are all tattered and it looks like crap on the inside, you figure that's the way they maintain their aircraft engines. May not be true, but you're going to make that leap, right?
Great example. Great. A little scary example, but yes, a great for sure. And we often, we're busy as business owners, especially small business owners, and the website, oh, we did that 3 years ago, it's done, check, finished, don't look at it again. But it's one of those things that needs a little ongoing care and love. And
I think people, in my opinion, don't understand the lost opportunity cost, because the people that looked at your website and decided, no, how big is that number? How do you even know, right?
Absolutely. It's a number you cannot see, the number of people who did not call you after they got, to your website because they just weren't comfortable for some reason.
Right.
That would be, there are some kind of weird technologies, not weird, but little creepy technologies that are starting to come out where people are starting
I've got
to
a guy,
track
for
some
example,
stuff.
they can tell everybody that went to your website, where they're from, who they did, what they're, it's the technology's there, and you can tell how many people decided to go away. That costs money to do that, but you at least figure it out.
Yeah, and those technologies are there. They're relatively new, but they're pretty fascinating. They're not free for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how long before some of these privacy laws and some of that kind of stuff start to, impact the ability of some of those to get in place. But yeah, for most of us, it's tricky to understand who did not call, right? The inverse,
Right.
and how many of those did we miss out on because our site just didn't engage them and didn't pull them in or didn't make them feel comfortable.
Mhm. Well, now, when you're looking at a site, obviously for a builder versus a remodeler versus a roofing company, they're all different. But you have some basics on how do you tell you have a good site or not? I mean, you ask your friends. I mean, how do you say my site sucks or it doesn't? Is there any way to tell?
I think probably the biggest thing to step back and look at, because design can be a little subjective, right? We all have our own preferences and what looks nice and what doesn't. But we can kind of, recognize when something feels old and stale, just based on, we're all on the internet all the time, right? You're seeing all these other sites, if yours looks a little old and stale compared to most of what you're
I
looking
mean,
at.
also you can look at all your competition, and if you have the worst looking site, that's not good.
That is definitely a great way to start is, pick your handful of key competitors that you're bumping up against on a regular basis and just take a look at what they're doing on a regular basis. Absolutely.
Okay. So back to our question, you're saying 3 to 5%, parts, maybe half on building brand versus pay-per-click kind of stuff. Do you have ways of tracking all that stuff?
Yeah, and just to clarify, Paul, I don't think all of that budget, when I say digital, isn't all just going like to ads specifically. I think that includes kind of your website investment, possibly getting some help creating content. There's other things around that digital effort beyond just paying Google, type of a thing. But I think as you look at that whole infrastructure and this idea of driving traffic, I think it's important to step back and recognize that there's a lot of what we sell in this services world that is really trust driven, right? It's like nobody knows exactly what makes a good roofer. Nobody knows if you're going to be a great remodeler until after the fact that you've
Right.
done the job for them or not, right? And so how do I get ready to invest a significant amount of money for me as a homeowner, right? This is a big purchase usually. I don't spend, tens of thousands of dollars on very many things. At least I don't. Maybe you do, Paul. Maybe you're
Well, I mean,
buying all
I
kinds
look
of
at,
stuff.
I look at, is it the reviews that make all the difference? I mean, you look at all the Google reviews, your competition has like 100 and you got 5. I mean, is that what makes a difference?
Reviews is definitely a key piece of all of that. And I think the word that I find to be really helpful is to step back and recognize that at first we're selling trust. We're selling trust. Reviews help validate trust, don't they? Look, gosh, they've done this for 100 people that all said they did a great job. What does that do for trust, right? Or man, they've done it for one person who said it was okay. All right,
Right.
well, I know they did more work than for one person, so maybe that person just had but it doesn't quite get you to the same place, right? As the person who's got
Unfortunately,
100.
you're comparing people in real time on the internet in 5 minutes. It's not like you're
Yeah.
doing a research paper, right?
Exactly. And it's very quick. And if my best friend told me to work with you and then I really trust them, that word of mouth, and then I look, you only have one Google review. Well, maybe that other referral is still enough to push me past that. But if it's a total straight up Google search where I don't know anything about anybody and I'm just looking for, the roofer in my area and I don't have any relationship with anybody at all, those reviews start to really add up in the power that they can do and influence for sure.
Now, how else do you build trust on a website other than reviews?
I think the biggest piece that I see work very effectively is providing education. So teaching people about how the process works, what's important to understand, to make sure that we don't get taken advantage of. We're always a little nervous that somebody who knows something is going to overcharge us
Well,
because they
don't
know
trust
we don't.
contractors or used car salesmen. I mean,
Yeah.
it's it, but it's the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, there's definitely some of that, right? And it's because I don't know what I don't know. And so I'm nervous because I feel vulnerable because I don't understand. And you can come and tell me things. Oh, yes, that costs this much. And I'm like, I don't know. Does it? I don't know.
Well, is it things like how to choose a good remodeler, or how to choose a good builder, or how to choose a good roofer? I mean, those are the things you put on your site?
Yeah, it's trying to understand the kinds of questions and be that prospective clients or customers would have, and then figure out how to answer those in ways that live on beyond just the 5 minutes that you put it together, right? Trying to be a little more generalized enough so that the content will last you, over a year or two, as opposed to being out of date tomorrow, kind of a thing. So,
Like a lot of people still have all the COVID stuff on their website. Maybe not appropriate.
yeah, and while we're still concerned about safety and all of those things, that does feel a little out of date, right? So what
Right.
else is out of date? What else is out of
Right.
date in the information that's out there? For sure. And so it's all about, the person who educates me earns trust over time, especially if I'm in a longer buying cycle. It's like, you know what, we want a new kitchen, but we're not ready to do it today. We're going to start kind of thinking about what we might want, and 6 months from now or next year, we're going to be ready to hire somebody to redo our kitchen, or whatever it is. Well, what happens during that time? It's like I'm reading, I'm searching, I'm looking around, and if I keep getting the same one popping up that has different articles, or if I get lost reading 5 blogs in a row, because they talk about different pieces, or gosh, why you should use this type of countertop or versus that other one. What are some of the key questions to ask somebody about kitchen? How do I budget appropriately for a kitchen? Because
Well,
I
it's
don't
always,
I don't
what does it
know.
cost per square foot? That's why I'm like,
Yeah,
what is a
yeah.
custom? And you can go, unfortunately, you can go to Google and say, oh, I can build a custom home for like, $200 a square foot in Atlanta. It ain't gonna happen, right?
Yeah, and if it's not going to happen, you need to tell them why, right? And there's a whole nother understanding of why price per square foot is a bad way to budget for a job, right? I mean, there's a potential article there, right? All the other things that you should consider beyond price per square foot, or something like that. Again, it's how can we be helpful? How can we be helpful? How can we answer the questions that they have? And those things will help your SEO as well, or your search engine optimization, because Google will find those. They'll naturally have the kinds of keywords in them that without you having to really think hard about, gosh, what keyword do I want to rank for? If you're just being helpful in writing, those things kind of flow into it.
Well,
And
there's
build
a
out.
big, debate, maybe it's debate. I mean, are videos way better than written, or is it a video with a transcript of the video, or is it just written? I mean, we can get all kinds of testimonials on our site, but which ones count?
So video is definitely more emotionally engaging. We connect. We'll watch longer than we might read. From a raw content standpoint, today the tools to create transcripts out of a video, again, some of these AI tools and things that can do summaries and transcripts are very fast and powerful and easy to use. So to get the transcript as well, I would highly recommend that. If you're doing videos, having the transcript also on the page, because Google will index the written content. Some people will read the written content, but you'll still get the emotional engagement of the video content. And video just feels a little more real, to
But
somebody.
again, you're
It's a
trying to build
person.
trust, right? And that helps.
Exactly. Video is definitely a better trust builder than just text, especially testimonials in videos. These people are real. It's not just somebody you made up, and put, oh, Bob and Mary said they had a great time working with us. It's like, well, who are they,
Now,
right? But
here's another question that comes up for a lot of my clients. Is it good to have a polished Hollywood production video, or is it better to have more of, I took with my iPhone video? Because one seems to me more professional, but one might seem more sincere. So do you have any opinion there?
I think you want the iPhone video with just a little bit of extra polish added. And so what I mean, because, and it, again, the quality of cameras on phones these days is just, out of the world compared to where that used to be. But when I say that, it's like, don't hold it in your hand, have a tripod. Okay, when you do it with the phone, right? Don't
You don't have to
have it
have a
be
mic, or you do have to have a mic, as an example.
you can get some amazing mics for like $30, okay, and that really get some good audio. So it doesn't have to be super expensive, but yeah, a good mic so it doesn't sound far away and echoey
So
can
what you're
add that.
saying is use your iPhone or your smartphone with a tripod and a mic, and you're out $150 for the outfit versus, you know, thousands
Right.
of a production video, but it'll still
Yeah.
sound good.
Yeah, and I think again, it's going to depend on what your goals are. There's definitely a time and place for a more professional, type of video, especially something that's going to last long. Maybe the one that's like your company history video that's going to be 5 minutes long. You want to get somebody in there, but a customer testimonial, you can probably do something a little simpler and easier. But then do a little bit of editing. Cut out the little bit at the beginning where they're not quite ready. Maybe snip in between some of the questions, just to shorten it up a little bit. Put on the little piece at the beginning that's got like your spinning logo or something, so they all start the same. Have a call to action at the end that has kind of that, to learn how we can help you with your project. Go to our website. Whatever it is, type of call to action. So there's an end to it. It's not just an abrupt thank you and boom, it's gone. So some of those types of things don't require hours and hours of post-production and super skill sets. There's a lot of great tools out there that make some of that easy. We like one called Canva that does a lot of graphic and video editing really well.
Now, what about if they're not local? Here we're looking at Zoom right now. Is a Zoom video work?
It can, it's better than nothing for sure. And Zoom videos, it's going to depend a little bit on what the person you're talking to has available, because you can get some bandwidth issues from time to time,
Right.
and some jitters.
But a
and
quality
there.
Zoom video is sufficient if that's all you can get.
If that's all you can get, it's still better than not having the kind of content for sure.
Okay, cool. So, do you work with smaller companies? Because the people listening, you do work with smaller companies, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So Greg, do you have any kind of an initial fit, it's sometimes called discovery call, where you can talk to the person and find out, well, this is what you're spending. You're gonna have people that are not spending anything. I want to know, should I have a marketing budget? And if so, how much? And you have people that are questioning how much you're spending and if it's working or not.
Yeah, we're definitely willing to have that free consultation, if you will, or discovery call to talk through some of those things, give some thoughts and advice. Even if we're not the right fit, I'm always happy to talk through for a few minutes, what they're doing, some ideas like we did today, of what they might, try, especially if I've had a chance to look at their current website, or they've been able to share some more background with me to help it be a little more focused and not quite so general.
Okay. And how can people get in touch with you?
So our website is bluetangerine.com. Tangerine like the fruit, is the best way to find us. I'm also pretty active on LinkedIn. If somebody's there, I'm happy to take a connection there as well. And my email address is greg, @bluetangerine.com.
Cool. Well, thanks, Greg. I think if you are not spending any on marketing, you wonder if you should or not, or if you're spending money on marketing and not worrying if you think you're getting your biggest bang for your buck, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't know what they don't know, which is the way it is in this industry. So I'd suggest you give Greg a call and just sort of explore those possibilities.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for being here, Greg. I appreciate it.